What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. After Sound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, another week, another town hall in the books. This one is the first one for February, and I got to say, it went over time. Matt was not on it, but Aggie wanted to stick around and answer a ton of questions. This was also coming on the heels of the Nifty Arcade partnership announcement, which we're not going to get too much into here. I do have a little bullet point just because Aggie did talk about something that I think is worth sharing, but there is a whole separate video where I cover that. And I got to say that it was long, but there wasn't much new stuff. Now, this is not me throwing shade. It's just like there's a lot that's still undefined. So a lot of the questions that were asked were things that are, the team just doesn't have any answers to, right? Like, how much is it going to cost to unlock a Soulbound reward card? I think they got that question like 3 times. And he was just like, we haven't figured that out yet, or we haven't decided on what it's going to be. So it was just stuff like that. It was a good town hall in some ways, but then it just ran a little bit long. Again, I appreciate the fact that Aggie was sticking around and answering as many questions as he could. And then he actually went on Gank and Walking Keys' show, NFT Gaming and Collectibles, for like another hour afterwards to talk with the community there. So, shout out to Aggie for just taking the time to spend with the community. I will say this, okay, and especially because now I'm getting a lot of flack from people saying that, like, well, I'm just a shill for the team because I contract with them. I have not agreed with a lot of the things that the team has done. I've been very critical of a lot of the decisions that they've made. I've actually been on the opposite side or stance of Aggie many times. But I will tell you, with all of the salt that is coming out now and that has been coming out for the last 6 weeks, even though I disagree with Aggie, God, I respect him for showing up every week for the town hall and just taking it, because it sucks, man. It really sucks. So, again, I'm not, this is not to like butter him up or anything, because I don't agree with a lot of the ways that they go about things. I did like the Nifty Arcade partnership. But just with the vitriol, I feel like the salt has taken an extra sourness, an extra bitterness since the beginning of the year, which is funny because the market is actually recovering. So this is the first time that, at least people like me who were, Papa Bear, who still is Papa Bear, are starting to feel a little hope. But it's just been interesting to watch. I just wanted to comment on it, and shout out to the team. I think they are doing a great job. And to clarify once again, for all the salty people here in this chat, I just do music. So they just send me, a little prompt to write a song for such and such. So that is all I do, trying to make sure that I keep that front and center for you guys, so nobody thinks that I'm just trying to shill out for the team. I love the game. I love the project. And at the end of the day, I contract for them because I want to, right? This is not my full-time thing. I contract for them because this is a cool project and I want to be involved, not the other way around. But that's all I want to say on that, just to address things. Let's go ahead and dive in. The first thing was tower defense. Now, this is something that has been getting me a little bit nervous, I'm sure many other people a little bit nervous, because it's like, well, we hadn't seen like a dev diary in a couple weeks, and there hadn't been, much announcement. Every time people asked about it, it was being punted off, right? Aggie was saying last week when Matt was on, he had to leave, not early. I mean, he left after the 2-hour time frame, and then somebody asked about tower defense, and Aggie was just like, oh, should have asked Matt, but he's not here. Everyone was like, what the hell? So this week they actually had David from Double Coconut, who is the studio who's making the tower defense game, on, who shared a lot of information and actually some gameplay footage. So I'm going to go ahead and show some of that here. Now, you won't be able to hear the audio, but if you just want to watch some of the video, and then what are some of my notes here? So pushing for Q1 release, and then they're hoping to have the beta out in the next couple of weeks. So we could see a closed beta by the end of February. And then what's crazy is if the beta goes well and there's no crazy feedback or whatever, things that they need to go back and adjust, this could be out by the end of Q1, which is, less than 7-8 weeks away, which, again, super exciting. There was some kind of talk about if you own X amount of packs, you'll be given access to a closed beta, which caused the secondary market to spike in terms of the pack price. I remember hearing that there was going to be something like, if you bought 500 packs initially, then you would get access to a closed beta, 500 packs during the presale. So they did not mention that, but I'd be kind of annoyed if they went back on that. Now, I didn't buy 500 packs, mind you, right? So It's just if they promise that to people who like went heavy on the pre-sale, but then kind of give this or open it up to everybody else, I don't know. That would feel kind of weird. So hopefully they just haven't ironed that out yet because they've been so focused on getting the game ready, and now they're going to focus on how they how they essentially deliver it out from a beta perspective and go back to that. So again, the game looks really good. I don't know if you're watching it now, but or if you're just listening, but if you're watching it here, it looks like a phenomenal Web 2, even like a Web 2 mobile game in many ways. It runs smoothly. The graphics are great. Again, is this going to win like, is this going to beat something like The Last of Us or Red Dead Redemption 2? No, but that's not what it's trying to be, right? It's just a simple game that is focusing on a very addictive genre of gaming, in my opinion, which is tower defense style games. And I'm just super excited for it. So hopefully you will appreciate the footage here. And I would highly recommend going to listen to like the first, it's maybe within like the first 15 to 45 minutes is when they talk. Now, the only other thing that I want to mention here is, again, keep in mind, stuff was just said, and you know how it goes when it comes to town halls. Sometimes stuff is just said, and it's not actually the case, or it's not in a post, or maybe it's just misspoken, right? But David from Double Coconut mentioned something along the lines of or just reminded everybody that ECR is going to be at the card level, right? There's going to be like a mana or something like at the card level for each of the different towers. And so when you play, it's essentially like the more towers you have, the more you can play out, very different from how the Splinterlands card game is, because it's at the account level for your ECR. So when you're looking at it through that lens, well, it's just like the more cards you have, the better. But he did mention that there could be some kind of DEC sync to help with ECR because it is at the card level. Now, again, that would be kind of weird because we've been wanting something. We have been wanting that for Splinterlands, the card game as well. It's funny. I was actually talking. Shout out to Darkest Night. I was talking with him yesterday. I was just like, just out of curiosity, if they were to charge you like 1,000 DEC, which is roughly like $1. If they were to charge you like 1,000 DEC, but you could like freeze your ECR or bump it up like 10% or something like that, would you do it? And, players like him, players like people who really love the game would totally do it. And I'm sure many people would try to find a way to like game that or, min max it in some way or get the best ROI out of it. But at the end of the day, it's just like a lot of people enjoy playing the game and they want to earn. And it's like, oh, well, if I'm going to be stuck at home or if I'm going to be stuck somewhere and have like an hour to kill, well, why not spend like $1 for my entertainment and earn a little bit more, right? So again, I don't know if that's actually going to be the case. It was just kind of casually mentioned. But if that is, woohoo for yet another DEC sync, which I think could actually be something that people take full advantage of. Now, the only reason that I think that it could probably be more, likely, let's put it that, more likely that they decide to do that is because I think many of the rewards in tower defense are going to be soulbound. Also, the name of the game is Soul Keep because you're collecting souls. Probably should have started there. So the official name for the game is Soul Keep. We no longer have to call it STD, Splinterlands Tower Defense. It is now Soul Keep. And so getting back to this, if a lot of the rewards are soulbound, then I don't know. I mean, that could actually make sense because then it actually pulls in a lot of very interesting Web 2 models where is it pay to win? Yeah, sure. But I mean, that's how like Web 2, especially mobile has been for most games, right? When you think about it. But when people pay, if it's going to burn DEC and help the overall ecosystem, that's going to be even better because that benefits everybody that's part of the economy. So, okay. Again, that's enough speculating for tower defense. I love the gameplay footage. I'm super excited. I hope, I own some packs that I bought off the secondary market. I hope that's enough if they are going to open it up to people who just own a ton of packs. But if not, then, hopefully we get this by the end of Q1, which would be awesome. Okay, number 2, this controversial one, Nifty Arcade partnership. There's a lot of feedback given to the team, and I don't want to rehash all of it. The only thing that I want to say is that if you look at the numbers for pack burning, right, we were set to burn 25,000 packs per day, and then when we got to March 31st, there was going to be 500,000 packs that were just burned, right? So the way that Aggie was explaining it is just like, if we take those 500,000 packs that are just going to be burned on March 31st, open them up, turn them into decks, and then give them out to a platform, Nifty Arcade, that is committed to being anti-bot and is going to focus on new players and onboarding new players. Now, I don't know how they're going to do it, but I assume they have some kind of method that will be like, you get this account that maybe was open within the last 30 days will get the deck delegation for 1 season, 2 seasons, whatever it is. At least that's how I would set it up, right? If the account is like less than 30, maybe even less than 60 days old, you can come in and get a 2 season or a 1 month delegation of a deck. And then after that, if you don't like the game, you leave. If you do like the game, then you have to go and you have to start buying and collecting your cards. Now, you do get to keep all the Soulbound rewards that you earned over that time, which I think is cool and great, and it gives people an incentive to move forward. But ultimately, they will have to start investing in the game. So the 2-month time frame here that Aggie was talking about, he's like, before everybody just loses their mind, which they already did, but before everybody loses their mind, why not just give this 2 months? Right? Why not just give this 2 months to see how it goes? Like, let them open up the decks, or open up the packs, create the decks. And if we can onboard a significant amount of people, look at the data afterwards and onboard a significant amount of people within, the next 6 weeks, 2 months, if people don't want it, right? If the community is saying, well, this is not really working, it ended up being, not a great experiment, well, then just burn all the cards. And then we're back where we were. Sure. Do we have to suffer with rentals and whatever for the next 2 months? Sure. Yeah. But again, like rental income at the bottom, like for 1BCX cards sucks right now. Like, it's just awful because a lot of the bots have gone offline. So I'm not looking to make like an extra like penny or fractions of a penny on some of my 1BCX cards here. I would rather bring in 500,000 new people every season to try out the game and hopefully get some of them to stick around. Because guess what? If they try out the game and they actually want to earn at the higher levels because they understand the meta and they are good at the game, right? They have a good understanding. They'll probably come in and buy like a silver level deck or a gold level deck, which is a couple grand, right? So at the end of the day, you don't need everybody coming in, but you need that funnel to bring in 1,000 new people every season or every month. And then from that, even if you get a small percentage point of those people who will then become, what's that called? Just, people who are like zealots around the game and want to like get involved and see the community and all that. Like, to me, it's a win-win scenario, or at least a no-lose scenario, because if you give it that 2-month time frame, I think that, the cards are going to get burned anyway, and we can choose to burn them on April 1st if we really, really want. Well, I guess we can't choose, but the community can push for everything to get burned anyway on March 31st or April 1st when they would have been burned anyway. So let's move on to number 3. There was a little poll put out, and we don't have the public results because it was just going towards like a Google Doc, but Weirdbeard was talking about merits versus SPS as rewards for gladiator tournaments. Now, I actually like the idea of merits. I mean, I want to level up my gladiator deck, and I want to look for ways to earn more merits so that I can get that edge in brawls and even in ranked in many ways. So again, I'm actually a big fan of this. But I think what's interesting, and maybe this is just my perspective, right? But it's very much like I'm so focused on the game side of things, right? The investment side is cool, and I'm still doing that in other ways. But the fact that I want merits just speaks to the fact that, like, well, I want to be more competitive. I want to level up my gladiator cards. I want to help my guild more, right? And so I don't know how people feel about this. So this is more, if you haven't had a chance to vote, I'll see if I can put the link in the description. And if not, then I will put the, or you can just go look at Weirdbeard, or one of Weirdbeard's posts in the Discord, and you could probably vote there. But I like the idea. Now, somebody did make a comment that I thought was good, where it's just like, if you're not giving out SPS as a prize, then maybe you shouldn't be charging SPS for an entry. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad idea. It's just, what would you charge then? Should we be charging GEC? Should we be charging vouchers? Because vouchers are kind of just an extension of SPS. But at the end of the day, if you want to enter into these tournaments and you're not winning an actual prize, how much are you willing to pay to enter in, right? Because I think most of the community is very like ROI or min-max based. So again, I don't mind spending a couple SPS right now, because SPS is like a couple cents, right? But I can understand that changing in the future, where, if it's like 2 SPS to enter into the tournament, it's just like, okay, yeah, that's like 6 cents, 5 or 6 cents, whatever it is. But in the future, like if they're going to charge me like $1 to $2 because SPS hits $1, I don't know. Like maybe I wouldn't enter in at that point. But again, that's just me. I think this is something that needs to be thought out a little bit further, but I like where it's going, and I would love to see more opportunities to earn merits and level up my Gladiator cards. Okay, 4 and 5 should be pretty quick. Land Phase 1 should be complete by the end of Q1. Now, this is something that Nate said, again, kind of offhand, just saying that by the end of Q1, we should, everybody should be able to survey. I've been here since last year, hoping that we would get everything for land, all three, additional, all three additional releases, which was like the market functionality, map enhancements, and then surveying. I was hoping we get that in January, and then January passed, and now I was hoping we would get it in February. So with Nate kind of just casually dropping it like by the end of Q1, at this point, I think in the last video I was talking about like, oh, I'm hopeful that we get like everything in February because we already have the marketing or the market functionality. So maybe we get map enhancements this week or next week, and then we get surveying by the end of February. I'm just completely done with that now. Land is probably not going to be out by the end of March or mid-March. So at this point, I'm not even worried, excited about, or whatever about land. I'm just emotionless, and it will come out hopefully by the end of Q1. And if it doesn't come out by the end of Q1, I'll obviously be even more disappointed, but I am no longer holding out hope that we are going to get that in February like I was in a previous video. And then number 5, Cryptomancer, now that he has finished his card edition set, which is he actually talked about the card editions for a good amount of time on the stream. It's just on the town hall, but you can see it wasn't anything here because it wasn't anything new. So I feel like we've talked about it to death already, and it's going to go live today, which is great. But Cryptomancer will be moving on to Guild Alliances next. Now, the one thing about Guild Alliances that he was saying, not necessarily in the live stream, but in the comment section on Discord, the town hall section, was that it hasn't been fully spec'd out yet, so he can't even give like a time frame. Not that he should be, just because the community is gonna hold him to it if he gives even any kind of time frame. But it's like it sounds as though this is still very much in the beginning phases. Now, the fact that he's going to be done with the card sets and he will have more than half of February to start working on this actually makes me somewhat bullish on the fact that we will get this early, potentially in Q2. Again, I don't know how long it's going to take, but it's like he has almost all of February, at least half of February, all of March. They did say they wanted to launch this in Q2. And of course, the impatient part of me is hoping when they say Q2, they mean April 1st. But, I don't know that we're going to necessarily get it that early, but my fear is like the further it gets delayed or pushed back, it's just like, well, yeah, we're going to shoot for like June because that's Q2. And then like we get to June and then we're like, yeah, we're almost there. And then all of a sudden it gets pushed into Q3. So the fact that he has a lot of time, or like more than half of Q1, gives me a little bit more hope that we are going to see that in Q2. And you know what I'm really loving, and I'll close out with this, what I'm really loving about this whole agile approach, which Aggie did talk about very briefly on the town hall itself. And they've talked about it several times, but how they're like pushing out more code than they were, a year ago or 6 months ago, even though they have a reduced staff. It's just what I like about this is I don't think, or let me rephrase that. From my understanding, and the way that we're seeing land, for example, be like cut into smaller chunks, right? There was like land phase 1, and then we got phase 0.5. And then if you think about it, if you want to put numbers, it's like phase 0.5, then phase 0.6, then phase 0.9, and then we're going to get land phase 1, right? And so we got 0.5 in December, then we got 0.6 in January, we're going to get 0.9. You know what I mean? Like it's getting released in chunks that we can have. So when I think about Guild Alliances and how they're moving to this, or they've moved to this MVP model, it's not like I think there's going to be one day where all of a sudden like Guild Alliances are here. I think it'd be cool if like, all right, well, we have like the first element of Guild Alliances where maybe you're not getting any benefits, right? Maybe, but they release like what the buildings are going to be, and maybe you can start pre-leveling up the buildings, right? If you want to get a head start or whatever the case is, or they release something that, if they have something for Rooney, or you want to stake certain cards or whatever the case is, or maybe you choose to bring in your which guilds will be part of the Guild Alliance, but it's not functional yet, right? We're probably going to get this in chunks throughout Q2, with hopefully the final piece for whatever phase 1 that they have in mind in Q2, or by the end of Q2. But again, it makes it exciting, and I for one have really enjoyed the first we'll call it like 5-6 weeks of the year, or I guess just 5-6 weeks of the year, where we've gotten like, again, small but significant updates every week. And, some weeks are obviously bigger than others. But if we continue at this pace, I think we're going to look back at like Q1 and then Q2 and then Q3 and be like, oh, well, we actually covered a lot. And it was interesting. Like the game didn't get stale because there was new stuff put out. There's stuff for us to talk about, stuff for us to play, stuff for us to try, stuff for us to give feedback on like every week or every other week, rather than it's like, okay, Guild Alliances come out in Q2 and we just wait here, nothing changes, which is how I felt like it was last year when they kept talking about rank rewards, but then we didn't get it until there was like this massive like overhaul. Now we're getting all these things in chunks, and I think it'll actually make it much more interesting, much more palatable for everybody to just have this like little drip, this little dopamine drip every week to either, dive further into or to get salty about, so, but that is all I have in this video. I'm curious to know a couple things. If you watched the town hall, what did you think? How are you feeling about everything so far? Number 2, if you watched the gameplay footage, either on the town hall or just briefly here, are you excited about tower defense? Did you buy more packs? And number 3, any other thoughts? Any other closing thoughts? I would love to hear it here. I will catch you all in the next video and see you around the game. Take care.